Yep. Give me a nod when you're ready.
Like
Shooter's ready. Stand by.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Bullets and Bourbon. I'm Frank Gao, joined by my co-host Matt Gunlock. Tonight we have Staff Sergeant Payton Garcia from Kansas back on. A little bit of the backstory for Payton. He joined the team back when Matt was still running it. He was originally part of the 3-gun team, but he did get pilfered to become an OCS augment for a little bit, so his competitive career did get put on hold. But ever since he came back, he's been absolutely taking competitions by storm. He took his first major match recently at the Buckeye Blast, came in first overall in the limited optics division. But more importantly, he took this year's Lauchheimer. For those of you unaware, the Lauchheimer is the aggregate across a bunch of different disciplines that are tested at Marine Corps championships. So the top 10% from all the MICMICs, the Marine Corps Marksmanship competitions, come together at championships. This year was about 80 Marines. They competed over an entire week, and Payton was consistent enough across all these different disciplines to come out at the very top and take the one trophy. It's a first, second, and third place trophy, but there's only one gold Lauchheimer, so his name is his name is on that trophy now. Again, Payton is from Kansas, and at this point, I'd like to turn it over to him. And is there anything I missed, man?
I am from Kansas. That's correct. But yeah, no, that's pretty solid. OCS kind of screwed me over, but I'm trying to recover from that.
Yeah, and I'd say you're doing a really good job of it. But let's talk about Marine Corps championships, because the entire reason that I wanted to do this is having shot championships for the last 4 years. I think it's a different beast from a lot of the regular competitions that we go to on the civilian side, as well as the Marine Corps. It's a very unique format, a lot of different disciplines. It's a week long. It's really like a test of endurance as well as marksmanship and a bunch of other things. How do you see the mental preparation for champs different from other more condensed 1 or 2 day formats?
So the mental prep, it was actually really unique this year because, or I guess every year, because like you said, we condense a lot of different disciplines into 1 week, and there's no real way to prepare yourself 100% for every single one. So you have to find a happy medium. It's where you're prepping the day before. Typically the prep for me for the match was just setting up the match and ensuring that it was a great match for everyone else. So a lot of my mental game was just ensuring that everything was good to go for the next day, which kind of took up most of my time to psych myself out. But with MICMIC this year, or the championships, we did an action rifle match, 2 different pistol matches, which was the most pistol stages that we've ever done before for champs, and then gas gun. So trying to find a way to kind of balance yourself for all of those, it's really, really difficult. But I just encompassed every part of my mind and just was constantly thinking about other stuff to where I never did psych myself out.
Okay, so your mental prep is to not focus too much of your mental and emotional energy on the competition itself. Is it the competition itself? Because you're very in the zone when you shoot, or is it not thinking about like the overall standings or the Lauchheimer?
To be honest, this year it was more not about me. I was trying my best to help other people, and it's been weird. This year has been really helpful for me. When I help other people, it helps my mental game to where I'm completely in the zone, because if I don't perform, they're going to be scared and they're going to have a rough time. So I've kind of taken a lot of solace this year and in championships in trying to help other people. And as like a adverse effect, or as a effect of that, I'm shooting a better game for myself.
Okay. Is that a phenomenon that you're seeing with all the summer shooters that you're taking under your wing as well, going all these major matches?
Oh, absolutely. They've probably helped my mental game a lot. That and Steve Anderson, one of his classes, but realizing how much of a play mental management does have in the competitive scene was kind of the maturing point this year. And in teaching that to other people, I've kind of learned some things, and it's helped me a lot with mental like planning, managing my emotions, ensuring that I plan my stage. Because if I don't plan that, then obviously they're going to fail,
Mhm.
and that's not what I'm trying to do for them.
Okay. So we did have some adjustments. Sorry, Matt, did you have something?
I just had one thing I want to say. You mentioned the summer shooters that you have in training them, and like just from the videos I've seen in just going down there and meeting them, like you have done a solid job just developing them. I mean, they're good human beings, which is number one that you kind of look for whenever you bring on to the team. So, like, kudos to you guys for like picking top notch individuals to come over. But like every video that I see from each match that you guys go to, like it's just consistent performance where they are just getting better and better and better. And I'd venture to say this is probably one of the best summer groups I've seen come through on the pistol team. So good job, man.
It would be wrong to accept all of the acknowledgement for that, because it's not just me; it's the majority of them being able to be sponges to what I have, because I have a lot. I'm trying my best to develop these guys and give them the tools that I didn't have. So I'm just trying to do my best to ensure that they're successful, and they're killing it. They take everything that I've been telling them and going in strides, and hopefully one day they can do what I did and win matches and perform well when I'm gone.
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see good results out of them. And what stands out to me about the summer shooters this year as well is that they're putting in the extra effort, like it's not just the bare minimum. They want to go dry fire. They want to go to extra matches. Some of them are like they're they're traveling a lot, which is really cool to see. Like you love to see that out of new shooters in the Marine
Got
Corps.
a story with that.
Yeah.
These guys have so much drive. They shot a match this weekend, and typically with our policy, if you shoot a match, you get Monday off. It's whatever. You just reach out, and I send it in the group chat. I'm like, hey, this is the plan. Thumb up if you want to go to work. Thumbs down if you don't. And within 30 seconds, every single one of them thumbs up, and like, we're going to work. And I'm like, awesome, dude. So they're so driven, and I love that.
Yeah, no, it's really great to see. Going back to champs, so the schedule did not go as planned, right? You had to use your weather day, and that shifted one of the pistol matches. Basically, the pistol matches book ended, right? It was USPSA in the beginning, or sorry, lethality factor, and at
Absolutely.
the very end, it was the heritage match. In the middle of that, you had the night rifle, the gas gun, and the multi gun. So, did you make any adjustments in between match days? And did you have to adapt or reframe that mental management at any time?
So I did have to change things. So obviously with like USPSA, I knew that I had to get my hits. I knew that I had to be quick, and with the limitations of the weapon system that I was utilizing, I had to kind of bring myself back a little bit and slow down. So like for USPSA hit factor, I just played my game. That's supposed to be my sport. That's what I'm supposed to be good at. So I played my game and tried to be really confident in that. And then like transferring over to action. Action's something I'm super okay. I love shooting a long rifle in a bay.
Mhm.
Thing that I've always been comfortable with. What I'm always most uncomfortable with is long bay rifle, which I've been putting a lot of work in preparation for other matches. But that was my biggest concern for championships, and that's where I kind of focused the most on, is when I was doing long bay rifle for gas gun. Um, I took things slower than I typically would. I wasn't like sprinting to barricades. I was slowly walking up, like mimicking some PRS skills that I've seen. But that was probably the biggest mental challenge for me, was the long bay rifle piece.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just wanted to jump in again. But with the short bay rifle stuff, like I remember whenever before you even came to the team, like you were really driven and you wanted to come to the team, and it was unknown because you got histed to go recruiting. And we were eventually able to get those orders canceled, but that entire time you were going out and you were just shooting whatever matches you could find between USPSA and multi-gun within the national capital region area. And, even before you got to the team, you were a very strong rifle shooter. And so it's really cool to just see the progression of you finding those limits and just continuing to push them.
I would consider that's part of my job. So I'll continue to push farther until I'm a little robot.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
Yeah, we've talked about what championships tests. There's some deviations over the years, right? I'd say no two championships have been the same. We've seen everything from bullseye to high power, bit of night shooting, some white light, and some under NVGs. We shot steel challenge that first year that you and I were out there. But you already talked a little bit about the long bay rifle being a little more procedural. But how, I guess, so that was an operative way that you approached the disciplines where you knew you didn't really have as much experience and you couldn't really push your advantage as much versus the one like USPSA, where you're more comfortable. Was there anything else to it in terms of reframing your mind going into those? Was it just trying to prevent losing points as much as possible in the grand scheme of things?
Honestly, I didn't really think of it that way. I was just shooting to the best of my ability. I wasn't trying to push to. In the past, I've lost a lot of matches because I try to push myself to a standard that somebody else has set. And this year, I tried to just shoot to my standard, try to beat myself from last year, and I didn't let anybody else's performance affect me. So when I was preparing for stages, when I was preparing for matches, I would just tell myself, this is your game, man. You're not pushing yourself. If you do well, you do well. That's on you. If you push yourself, you're going past what your limits are capable of, and that's a big thing that I learned last year in my competitive season.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of discipline, and especially because I mean you had some really good shooters there breathing down your neck. Most notably, Cardi B was out there. So to be able to stay in the pocket, even knowing that like Josh is out there putting up stage wins and all that stuff. That's one of the things that really got me the first time I shot at a major match is just watching scores and then watching myself slip further down, and then feeling like I had to make up. Did you purposefully not look at scores at the end of each day?
I would no, I definitely still looked at them because I'm a data driven person. I like to see where I failed at, as well as like my shortfalls, so I can attack the next day even better. I'm not afraid to look at scores, but it's just the fact that I'm not trying to let other people affect my performance. I don't think I think at championships, the reason why I did excel is because I was again just playing my game. But I'm still not like superficial where I don't care about watching the scores.
Yeah, for sure. And there's not really an opportunity. There's not live scoring for championships. Now, do you think that would have been different if you and Cardi B were on the same squad?
Absolutely. That would have been very like a playful back and forth. Very beneficial to not be squatted with him, but it was also kind of it was a cool thing to see how close we were. Like especially on the last day on the Heritage match,
Mhm.
I was driving to the match and I was thinking, me and him are neck and neck. I can push to try to win pistol, or I can play 80% and get the points that I need, and hopefully he like falters. And that was so cool that I was playing. We're both me and him were playing chess,
Yeah.
and that aspect that you don't really see that often, and it was so close. And I do think that if we were squatted together, things would have been a little different. My mental game maybe would not have been as good. But I think that was honestly the most exhilarating part is how close the game was.
Yeah, honestly, like going into the last stage and knowing that there's like a very thin margin between you and another shooter. I think that's one of the best parts of the sport. Like there's an entire dimension of stress and uncertainty, and just overall pressure to perform that really you don't get anywhere else. Um, that's why it's difficult to shoot in the super squad, right? Because everyone else is amazing, and you got to contend with that. Last question for me before I hand it over to Matt. But you mentioned it, right? There's definitely drawbacks to the weapons that we use. The stock military issue weapons that we use in a competitive setting, you know, you have competitive guns like a rifle and a pistol that are levels better for competition than anything the Marine Corps has in its TE. Um, so you still shoot civilian competitions during MIC season, but you're also shooting MIC. What overall like mental or physical adaptations are you making to get the most out of the M18, the M16, and the M27?
I guess the biggest consideration while utilizing our T and E weapons is that it is not. You have to, first and foremost, you have to accept that it is not a competition weapon. It is a duty driven weapon that is meant to be very reliable, but it's not a very like quick gun, obviously, because you need to be able to utilize it for a high tense situations. But like with the M18 for USPSA, I realized that there's always going to be a different trigger press of what I'm used to. I'm going to have to confirm my sights. I'm going to have to slow down, and just having like the mental maturity to slow down, like just that 10%, and realize it's not like my super tuned 2011 that's going to, like, I just twitch my finger and it shoots. It's not going to happen that way. So I had to this year really like slow myself down in the pistol, like slow myself down. My movement was still quick, but my shooting was just a little bit slower than I traditionally would do, which hurt. But I mean, it's necessary.
Yeah, but everyone else is dealing with the same thing, right? Everyone else is dealing with those weapons. Quick question for myself. Are you completely sights focused on the M18 or are you sometimes target focused?
So pretty unorthodox, unorthodox way of shooting the M18. So I am very front sight focused. Typically, so like if there's a penalty target or a target that requires more focus, like a control target, I'll be very focused on my first few shots. And then I do something that I don't teach people, but because I see it as wrong, but I'll witness the rounds impact the target.
Yeah.
On my second shot, I'll adjust my grip to hit where I want,
I,
which is not the right way to do it. Whoever's listening, don't do that. That's dumb. That's pretty not smart.
but it works.
But it works. It worked for me.
It works. I guess what you're getting at is like that's not something you can get. You can expect someone to reasonably pick up within the span of a mic, right? So it doesn't really make sense to teach him that. However, I experienced, transitioning from an open gun to an M18, I realized that up to a certain distance, I can stare over the sights. Honestly, I want to say that I'm cognizant of where the sights are at, but realistically, it just feels like I'm point shooting.
Yes.
But when I was getting used to it, there were times where it absolutely fucked me up because I would go target focus and sights focus, and then I'd go cross-eyed and I'd be nothing focused, which was amazing.
I love the image, but you would shooting it.
Yeah. But no, you can definitely get away with some things, and it's kind of it's why people like racing stock cars or shooting stock weapons. It's fun to see what you can get away with.
Oh, I prefer racing my souped up 2011 any day.
Same here, dude.
So, winning the Lauchheimer requires consistently excellent performance across a week of competition. And in the shooting sports, you really only get one chance to put your best foot forward. In other sports, they use series or tournaments to determine who rises to the top. If you were to run championships several times back to back, what's your level of confidence that you would be able to repeatedly clinch the Lauchheimer?
Okay, so that's a difficult question. I believe in confidence in your abilities. So like the book answer is absolutely. Anytime I go out there, I'm telling myself I'm going to win. But there's a very fine line between like confidence and being
Overzealous almost.
of yourself. So obviously I'm trying to win every single time. I'm confident in my abilities. I know that I am capable of doing that. That is my goal. So if I come out next year and I shoot championships, obviously I'm going to go for the Lauchheimer because would be super cool to go back to back. But I'm also like infatuated with the idea of someone beating me and knowing that there's somebody else better than me. And that's more important to me than winning, is seeing that somebody goes past my ability, which would be really cool to see.
I think in the current format, since we started the action scene, if you were to win the Lauchheimer again next year, in the current format, you would be the first person to do that back to back.
And that'd be really cool. And I just hope that there's somebody next year to push me like Cardi did this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, historically, the Marine who takes home the Lauchheimer is a current or former member of the team. What advice would you give your past self or a new team member aspiring to make a Lauchheimer run before their time with the team concludes?
So this is actually something that I've been telling my summer shooters a lot. And I've said this a few times in the podcast already. I wish that I could go back in time and look me in the eyes and tell myself it is not about beating the Scott Raiders. It's not about beating the Joshua Cardenases. It is about beating yourself and the person that you were last week and just constantly evolving yourself to the point to where you are going to eventually be a very good shooter. It is not about racing somebody in practice that's better than you. It's not about trying to beat a Instagram run. It's literally you trying to better yourself. And that's something that a lot of people have a really hard time like focusing on in the shooting sports, because it's all like, we have 3 years. You have to prove yourself immediately. So it's really hard to mature and realize that the first year or two, you're literally just grinding to figure out who you are in the competitive scene and what you need to do to win. So I just wish that I had people who told me that back then, but I didn't believe it. 100%. I didn't believe it. This is all I thought is you rip the trigger as fast as possible. Eventually, you're going to get 2 alphas and you're going to be the best in the world. So
I mean, that's what we tell everybody. Your first 2 years is just learning and getting good. That third year is realistically where you're going to shine. Like there's guys on the team that like Raider. I mean, he came out hot from the get go, but Raider, he started competing before he even got to the team. He didn't get to the team in the traditional route of the McMick program. The team found him at a competition and was like, holy shit, this guy's a Marine. He's active duty and he can shoot like a motherfucker and he shoots our sport. So let's get him to the team. And I mean, from the get go, Scott performed really well. And he is one of those. He's one of the catalysts that helped develop the team to where it is.
I would
Uh,
agree.
yeah, I got a quick question for you, Peyton. So part of, being able to measure up that version of yourself from a week ago is being present, understanding what's going on. When you first start shooting, the stage ends and you ask a new shooter what they did, and honestly, a lot of it's fuzzy. Like they don't remember their sight pictures, they couldn't call their shots. I guess a two-part question: is that important in being able to gauge yourself? Because often you're the best shooter at a local match, and most of the time there aren't people pushing you. So being able to know what you're capable of and how fast you can do things and where you're losing time is really important. And I guess at what point did that set in for you that you were like, oh, I understand everything that I did in this stage. And I know like what I fucked up in terms of footwork or vision or whatever. Like when did that really set in for you?
I would say after my first real major match season, so like my first real season on the team this last year, after my first real season and the constant like development from my peers, I started realizing that things were clicking, and especially when I started teaching people. When I started teaching people, things started clicking even better. Like seeing from an outside source, looking at somebody else, seeing what they did wrong, really solidifies how you are as a shooter and how you identify yourself as a shooter. Like before, when I first started, I'll miss a shot, and then I'll miss like multiple targets, and I'll finish the stage. I'll feel really confident about it. I had nothing but alphas, and then I go through and there's like 45% Charlies and a bunch of mics, and I had no idea what happened.
Mm-hmm.
At this point now, I'll shoot a stage and I will know like that's definitely like a low left Charlie. You experience this, Matt. You experience this. I think it's after your first real season that you start understanding like the aspects of the game, what fundamentals are going together to make a complex plan in a stage. And obviously teaching people is a invaluable like tool to yourself, because then you start seeing that stuff in yourself.
Well said.
So you're nearing your time, the end of your time on the team, and it's at this point you're notching in your most notable achievements, as Frank already stated, like the Buckeye Blast. You got the Lauchheimer. Is there a sense of urgency to continue performing this season or this summer, not only to cap off your time in the Marine Corps, but to prepare yourself for your competitive career as a sponsored shooter?
I wouldn't say that there is a sense of urgency for me to do well. Again, I don't want to push myself and try to meet these standards set forth by my like other people. I'm shooting to my ability. If I win, that's cool. My primary focus when I'm for my last year on teams is to really develop people that can replace the current the current people on teams. That's my biggest priority, is developing people, and I'll develop anybody who comes across me, because it's not about the individuals anymore. It's about the organization as a whole for the team. And I think that's really important to have people that are willing to do that. And for like sponsored shooters, I mean, realistically, that's the way that I'd have to go about to shoot the same way that I do. I'm not actively looking for anything. but that would be a really cool opportunity in the future. I've had some conversations with some people, but obviously being on teams, I can't accept any of that. But I mean, the future is only what I make of it. So we'll see what happens this next year. I'm really excited to see what happens with my future, because I would love to make this a lifetime of sports, because I fell in love with the sport, the culture of the people. It's great. It would
Great transition into the civilian life.
Yeah. I would love to keep on doing this forever, because there needs to be people who love the sport and be in the sport and make it grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you got family members waiting on you, but I do just want to talk real quickly. You are going to the World Rifle Shoot in the fall. What is I mean, you have a full USPSA season in front of you. I know you're dabbling a little bit of PCC and you're building a really Gucci rifle. What does the road to rifle worlds look like for you?
So the road to rifle worlds, it's a lot of relying on the action guys and their skill sets with long bay rifle. I'm pretty confident with short bay. So a lot of the practice that I'm doing is, I'm like, the day looks like for me is that I teach my summer shooters, I develop them, I will set up short bay drills, and then once they're done training, I'll sit there and grind and shoot my rifle and practice short bay. Where I have a hard time with is long bay rifle. So I'm leaning really heavily on Staff Sergeant Ariano, Sergeant Moeller, Staff Sergeant Cachola, all these individuals on their knowledge, as well as like Staff Sergeant Hale from IMTP, and kind of leaning on them. But right now, my road is just, I'm ripping my Gucci rifle as quickly as possible, getting 2 alphas under 50 yards, and trying to develop that and be consistent. This next few months, after the first few major matches with the summer shooters, I'm going to start transitioning to like 200-yard swingers on an IPSC target, and weird barricades, and really learning the sport of IPSC rifle, because it's a little bit different than IPSC pistol, which I'm used to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I mean, we're definitely going to have you back on at some point to talk about that match. Yeah, a lot of you guys that are going. Super exciting, just like we did with the Shotgun World Shoot last year. That's all I really had. But Matt, did you have anything else for Payton?
No. Appreciate you coming on, and I mean, this was a really good episode.
Absolutely. I think. Thank you guys for bringing me out.
If you have any other questions for Payton, hit him up. We'll tag him in the show notes. But we intend to interview the other Lauchheimer winners as well. So we do want to talk to. We've had everyone on before. Matt, you interviewed Glomba way back in the day.
Yes.
But John Glomba, Chris Scott, and Rob Germanillo, all of those guys, we kind of want to pick their brains, because it's interesting that there's been 4 different Lauchheimer recipients at this point. And I think it's, like I said in the beginning, I think it's an entirely different beast from the typical competition format in a lot of different ways. So we intend to continue to talk about it. You'll see future episodes, but for now, please enjoy Payton's insights, and we'll see you on the next one.